Yes, hello everyone. Fáilte Ashkady, Cúilín Media. Welcome back in for another weekend review show here on Cúilín Media. It's myself, Seamus Brady, joined by Matthew Hurley for this episode. And interestingly, we had two guests on. We have two guests on the show today. We had two Senior Hurling Championship semi-finals, which were the main events across this weekend. But we're also going to dive into the Intermediate Hurling Championship semi-finals and the Junior Hurling Championship semi-finals as well. It was a weekend for the small ball, Matthew, and while the competitiveness, I think it's fair to say, of the games did disappoint, the talking points and the amount of them certainly hasn't. We've a lot to dive into here.
Yeah, lots of Seamus, in fairness. Like, there was more competitive games, I would say, in the intermediate and the junior grades in particular. Like, in the junior, there was 2 points between the teams in one game. It went to extra time in the other. So that was very entertaining yesterday. The intermediate, one of them was one-sided with Turin winning, but the Danesford and Upperchurch Drumban game was very, very competitive right to the very end. And obviously the games, Martins and Ballygunner was competitive until half-time, and then Ballygunner started to pull away, as they usually do. It was disappointing with the Loughrea and Slaughtneil game. Kind of disappointed with Slaughtneil. They didn't add the same intensity as they did against the likes of Ballyhale, Ballygunner, SARS down through the years today, which wasn't great from their point of view. But Loughrea against Ballygunner should be a good final. Now, hopefully, Cúilín is available for that final, pending and obviously an appeal by Loughrea. Hopefully, he is available for that final. Common sense hopefully prevails there. But it should be a decent enough final. But you have to say Ballygunner are still favourites to go on and win that trophy. And it's amazing to think, out of all their championship games, Ballygunner have only lost by less, or beaten a team by less than 5 points only once, and that was the Pearshig in the Munster quarterfinal, that is an indication that they are wiping nearly everybody easily enough from the standards of senior hurling. So should be an interesting game on the 18th of January. But a lot to look into, despite only 6 games this weekend.
Absolutely. So, and Peter Griffin, our good pal, is leading the charge when it comes to the comments. And anybody watching, if you are with us for the first time, get involved in the live discussion if you would like to get your opinions in, and let us know what your personal highlights were from the weekend, or if you have any questions or anything in particular that you would like myself and Matthew to discuss from the weekend's action. But we are going to run through what Peter has said. He said, "Hey lads, comprehensive and clinical wins for Ballygunner and Loughrea. Unfortunately, again, the refs are the main talking point after the games. The red card and the ghost goal, the two big talking points." Then he says Johnny Murphy must be related to Dick Turpin, of course, the famous robber back in American folklore. We are going to then jump into the first outside of club championship story that Peter has mentioned here, and we'll run through them as part of our roundup of the news of the week as well in the GAA world. Starting off with this one, the retirement of Davy Burke from Galway, the 4th Galway man to lift the Liam McCarthy Cup, a leader and a legend of the game. Peter, you put it really, really well there. Matthew, I mean, I'll speak to this as a Leinster man, first of all. Like, Dublin had to lock horns with Galway every year when I was watching, and that, like, I've always had, I'd say, slightly more. I love when the hurlers do well, because it's kind of what seldom is wonderful sometimes. And, winning the Leinster Championship in 2013, the win over Limerick this year, the win over Kilkenny in 2013 as well, the win over Galway in 2019. When we get a special day, I cherish them days in the hurling. And the thing is that I'm saying is David Burke was one of those players that I always looked at and envied, that Galway had a player as good as David Burke. He was fantastic, and the consistency that he had, one of the greats of the modern era for sure.
Exactly, and I suppose the main kind of memories we'll have of David Burke is him obviously lifting Liam McCarthy in 2017, but on the pitch as well, his goal against Kilkenny in the 2012 Leinster final, which really set alight kind of the shock on that day as well. And take us back to that point. Galway did not win a Leinster Championship. Kilkenny were winning Leinster's left, right and centre. Galway only entered the Leinster Championship around 08, 09, around that time, to get a bit of competitiveness, obviously, and to win that first Leinster Championship, to get the camel off the back. Like, that was absolutely brilliant in fairness from a Galway point of view. And they beat Kilkenny quite comprehensively that day. And let's not forget, that was a Kilkenny team that almost did the 5 in a row back in 2010. So that was a sensational win, and David Burke was the leading light in that. He won 4 All-Stars as well, which which probably goes in under the fact that he captained Galway to the 2017 title. 4 All-Stars is still a serious achievement. It is a brilliant achievement for a midfielder like David Burke, obviously. He won 2 All-Ireland club titles with St. Thomas as well, obviously as recently as 2024 as well. 3 Leinster titles, 3 National Hurling Leagues, and a Fitzgibbon Cup with UL as well. So he's had an absolutely outstanding career. A brilliant midfielder for Galway, not just a brilliant midfielder probably in terms of his leadership skills in trying to get Galway back into games and leading from the front and things like that. He was a brilliant leader in the dressing room, brilliant talker, what I could gather anyway. Like, whenever Galway needed some leadership qualities, okay, you looked at Joe Canning. Joe Canning was an unbelievable player for Galway and skilled. But I think David Burke, in terms of his leadership skills, will definitely be missed in the Galway team. And only a few of those 2017 players only remain. I think off the top of my head, Conor Whelan probably, part, but only a select few. So they're diminishing bit by bit, Galway, which is a concern for them. And it takes kind of the winning feet off them for a bit as well. And let's not forget, Galway haven't won an Leinster Championship since 2018 as well. So the sooner they start to win things, the better from a Galway point of view. But from David Burke's point of view, an unbelievable servant Galway Hurling. 35 years of age, good time to go, I would say. Left many memories on the Galway panel, and he will be missed by the Galway panel. And obviously, an unbelievable servant for Galway Hurling and hurling in general, obviously, in terms of shaping the landscape of the All-Ireland, winning the Leinster Championship with Galway, getting that All-Ireland Championship 2017 as captain. And as well as that, like winning his club titles as well, I think without being flashy, he's achieved nearly everything in the game.
Yeah, no question. And on top of that, you have to remember his All-Ireland win with his club, St. Thomas's. I mean, the success that he had with his club was absolutely sensational as well. So, yeah, I think you put it really well there that, like, without being flashy, there's not really any medal that he hasn't won. He's one of the greats of the modern era, and he really was a modern midfielder in that he could kind of do everything. He could defend, he could attack. He was very, very versatile. And he was almost like a prototype to the Dara Fitzgibbons and stuff like that he was quick. He wasn't necessarily a Michael Fennelly type or a Will O'Donoghue type that was going to run around and win the dirty ball and everything like that. But he was just a class player, like just oozed class. Real Rolls Royce of the midfielder. And yeah, Galway will definitely be worse off without him, but no doubt about it, he has nothing left to owe to his county or to his club. Peter here says Whelan is in South America, might not be around next season. Very, very interesting there. That would be a huge loss if he is gone. Says Joe Canning in his book really captures the influence Davy had on the Galway team. Micheál Donoghue really valued his input as a leader of men. And then, of course, Micheál Donoghue might be on the phone to him trying to get him to change his mind. We don't know. But the next point that Peter brings up here is Kerry named as RT Sports Team of the Year, the only GAA award. What did you make of that, lads? Matthew, I'll throw that one to you.
To be honest with you, this might be an unpopular opinion. I don't think Kerry deserved RT Team of the Year.
Okay.
Now, I'm gonna name my reasons for this. It's a yearly award. Kerry didn't do it on a yearly basis. When you look at, okay, you won the treble, okay, the league context is all important here. There was 1 point between Kerry, who finished second in the league, and Tyrone, who got relegated. So, to be fair, I don't think there was much between the teams. So, winning that league title when there wasn't much between them, Mayo got to the league final and didn't even get out of the group in the All-Ireland. So, I don't think that's really nailed down as an achievement. And early on in the championship, let's not forget, Cork should have beat them in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Cork went extra time against them. They probably should have beat them that night. If only for Joe O'Connor's unbelievable goal, Kerry wouldn't have got out of Páirc Uí Chaoimh that night. They also lost to Meath in the All-Ireland group stages. Do I think they performed to their utmost best throughout the whole season? No, I don't think so. Look, they won the All-Ireland and a brilliant performance against Donegal in the final, brilliant performance against Tyrone and Armagh. But did they do it throughout the whole season? I'm not so sure against those. For me, I give it to another Gaelic Games team. I give it to the Dublin LGFA team, to be honest with you. I think their performance in the All-Ireland final against Meath was almost to perfection. And the only kind of slip up that the Dublin LGFA team had in the championship was against Waterford. And let's be fair, Waterford are Division 1 side. It was away from home. That was a difficult game for Dublin. It was a really difficult game. And they got a draw in that game. They got something out of it. Whereas Kerry lost to Meath. So I feel like if you're looking from an overall context of the year, I think the Dublin LGFA team probably deserved Team of the Year this season. look at the other awards, the Sports Person of the Year. I think David Clifford is a very good shout. Very good shout for it. The thing is, though, and it's the elephant in the room, Rory McIlroy did win the BBC Sports Personality of the Year. So you could imagine the uproar if he didn't win the RT one. And the BBC Sports Personality of the Year went to Rory McIlroy. You'd imagine the uproar in many ways if it went to someone else. I think the next three is very, very tight after McIlroy is between David Clifford, Kate O'Connor, and Sarah Healy. It's very, very tight. But overall, you have to say, I'll be like Aaron on them, one of the last videos on the channel. I wouldn't be a massive golf fan, but when you look at McIlroy's achievements, he won the Masters, the Ryder Cup, he won the Grand Slam, he won the entirety of golf this year. Like, you have to give it to McIlroy this season for that. Manager of the Year, I think a Gaelic Games manager could be felt hard done by that, to be honest with you. I think Willie Mullins as well from horse racing could have felt hard done by that. Stephen Bradley, yes, Shamrock Rovers won the double, but they didn't do well in Europe. I'll put it that way. They got knocked out pretty early in the Conference League. So who would I give Manager of the Year to? Jack O'Connor, I think, would have been a serious show for Manager of the Year, to be honest with you. The way he galvanised Kerry.
And the way he made history as well.
Maybe so, yeah.
With the Kerry, I think one of the key things that has to be taken into account when Team of the Year and everything like that is that they won the All-Ireland as well, at a landmark year for Gaelic football with the new rules and everything like that. Like, this year will go down in history as the year where Gaelic football changed. I do agree with you as well, the point about the league, because I will beg that they don't do this again next year. This to peddle out the same lines of, oh, well, who really wants to win the league? And no one wants to win the league anyway. And then they get confused when the league final has a terrible attendance. If you tell all the fans that no one really cares about the league, well, then the fans won't care about the league final, especially if it's a county like Donegal, Mayo, Cork, Kerry, that have to travel hours and hours and hours to get to Croke Park for the league final and pay the accommodation and pay everything like that. Like, if it's someone like Dublin that makes a league final, it's in our back garden. Like, it's a we can walk down to the stadium. But if you want to get a good attendance for the league final, like Dublin Kerry in 2016 in the league final was a sellout in Croke Park, it can be done. It has been done very, very recently. So let's sell the league properly would be my thing for next year. But the reality is Kerry did win the league, and it was important for them because it had the nice little cherry on top that it had been recently renamed as Kern Vihil Iver Hertig after the great Michal Omar Hertig. And then on top of that, they go into the championship. I do agree Cork should have beat them. They did bounce back well, though, to win the All-Ireland, and there will be an All-Ireland that will be crystallised in time, kind of similar to like the Centenary All-Ireland of 1984 and ones like that, because they won it in a big year for the GAA. And Kerry actually seemed to do that very, very well. Like, they won the All-Ireland in 1984 in the Centenary year. They won it in 2000 at the turn of the millennium. Like, they tend to win big marker years. But yeah, I think this one will go down in history because of the rule changes and because of the whole thing that, Gaelic football was saved, because it was, in my opinion. Jacko, a fair shout to, absolutely, for Manager of the Year, 100%. Peter says, lads, I am assuming it is the entire RT Sport team that votes, like Marty, Jared, Joanne, etc. It's a team of journalists as well, Peter. They vote on that. I don't know exactly who's selected. I don't know the full list, but it is people who are highly esteemed and highly respected in the sports industry. But yeah, we've spent nearly 15 minutes running through that. But yeah, we're going to jump in now to the 2 All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship semi-finals, which took place today in a doubleheader live on TG Cahir. And we're going to start off with the second game out of the 2, and it was the clash of Ballygunner and St. Martin's. Ballygunner 19 points, St. Martin's 10 points at Semple Stadium. Ballygunner breezed past St. Martin's in a very, very impressive display. Matthew, can they be stopped?
It's going to be very hard to do so, to be honest with you. They are a super team. And as I mentioned at the start, only one team has got within 5 points of Ballygunner in the championship, and that's the Piercing. Like, it's amazing, actually. That Sarah's Munster semi-final doesn't seem too bad now. 7-point loss, considering when Martin's lost by today. They are just an unbelievable team. And I actually think Martin's perfected their game plan well in the first half. I think they were actually okay. They got in Ballygunner's faces. They got the puck out tactics absolutely spot on. I just think they shot themselves in the foot with probably some wides that they would have regretted. I think Martins, especially in the first half. Rory O'Connor had a couple of frees. He's been brilliant throughout the whole season. 1 goal and 78 points coming into this game. But he had a couple of frees, maybe 3 frees in the first half. He'd normally put over the bar. He just didn't. And when those don't go over the bar, you're just like, this isn't your day. And Ballygunner just absolutely steamrolled them really in the second half. They outscored St. Martin's, I think it was 15 points to 3 or something in the second half. It was absolutely sensational performance from Bally. 15 points to 4, excuse me. I missed the point at the end from Joe Bennett to kind of make the scoreline a bit more respectable, but at the same time, it was just a touch of class. Like Desi Hutchinson, you couldn't touch him all day. 2 man of the match awards in a row now for him. Against Aero Guinness and against St. Martin's, absolutely sensational from him. Mike, the Park man, he absolutely performed well on frees. I think Peter Hogan linked the play very well as well. Harry Ruddle, another outstanding display, and definitely stamping his authority as one of the starting players of the Ballygunner team. Stephen O'Keefe, as the game went on, he started to calm down and things like that as well. And I think as the game went on, as the margin started to increase even more, Martin started to panic even more. And look, that's normal. Martin's won their first Leinster Championship a few weeks ago. That shouldn't go unnoticed. It's been a fantastic season for them. They just came up against a juggernaut today. They were superb in every facet of the game, and it's going to take a real Loughrea performance in the final to beat this Ballygunner team, because you need a performance of absolute perfection. Like I mentioned on the preview show, since 2023, only 1 club has beaten them after normal time in the championship, and yep, that's ours. So look, it's that just shows you how difficult it is to beat this Ballygunner team. You need to get everything kind of on point. You need to be absolutely perfect. Unfortunately, Martins weren't in the second half. But then again, look, they've won their first Leinster title. It's been a fantastic year for them. It shouldn't go under nose, and it shouldn't go in under the radar. This Ballygunner team are just unreal, though, and it will take a superb performance from Loughrea to beat them in the final. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, and you put it very well there. And it's been clear, and this is kind of why I chose them, because their time, they have to make good on this. They have an amazing team right now, and winning 1 All-Ireland with the crop that they have, because it was put to John Milan on the radio. I was actually driving home. I was over in Galway for a few Christmas pints last night, and I was driving back today, and I had the RT Radio 1 on, and I was listening to the commentary of the clash between Ballygunner and of course St. Martin's. And John Milan stayed on the radio program at the end, and they were firing a few questions to John and everything like that. And basically, John was asked, has this Ballygunner team underachieved or everything like that? And he was saying, well, they haven't underachieved in Waterford, obviously. They've broken all the records in Waterford. They've broken all the records in Munster. They have the most Munster championship, the most Waterford championships. They've, however many Waterford championships in a row. But now they have to capitalise Carpe Diem and take another All-Ireland title, because they will be thinking about it, especially if they don't win it this year. When you combine, the loss to St. Thomas's on penalties that year when Ballyhale Shamrocks were knocked out at their peak, that was one that I feel like Ballygunner left behind them. I think that they were the best club team in the country that year. I really think they left it behind them. This year, if they don't win, will also feel like that, because when you look at the stats and everything like that, it's been really, really apparent. Ballygunner have been on a mission from the beginning of the year. They have to make good on the team that they have right now. And you look at the stats, nobody's got close to them, really. You mentioned there in the Pearshig getting to within 5 points is the closest since Waterford that anybody has got to them. They've put up very, very impressive victories over quality sides like Sarsfields, like Aero Guinness. And in this game against a very, very good St. Martin's team, they looked a class above, especially in the second half. They're going to be very, very hard to stop in the final. Even though Loughrea have looked fantastic, Ballygunner just seem like they're on a mission. And you mentioned it as well about Desi Hutchinson, and fair play to you. You posted it up on Cúilín Media and the Gaelic Statsman Instagram page. Desi Hutchinson in his last 6 games has been absolutely sensational. You mentioned it there, but please put it for us again. How good has this guy been?
Well, the stats tell you all you need to know about him. 5 goals and 28 points, 5 goals and 21 points from play in his last 6 games. That's since the Waterford semi-final against De La Salle and right up to today against St. Martin's. 33 shots converted out of a possible 48, which is sensational. 69% shot accuracy. Like, normally you'd be happy with, say, 50 to 60%, but this guy's so consistent always, Desi Hutchinson. 9 goals and 77 points. This is the entire club championship this season. In 2025-26, 10 goals and 97 points when you throw in his Waterford tally this year across league and championship. 10 goals and 97 points in a calendar year. That's not bad, is it, Seamus? It really isn't. It's sensational in its own right. And as I mentioned before, 2 Man of the Match awards in a row against Errol Guinness and St. Martin's today. He's just so consistent. And he scored 7 points in both of those games against Errol and today. 6 points from play today, 7 points from play against Errol Guinness. He's just such a hard guy to mark. Like, if you take your eye off Desi Hutchinson for any time in the game, he's going to pounce. It's as simple as that. And when he's on form, he's going to cook. He's a sensational hurler. And once St. Martin's, kind of, well, they dealt with him well enough in the first half. He only scored 2 points, 2 brilliant points in the first half from the very start. But when they started to let the leash off him, he started to fire. Then after that, he was absolutely brilliant. And I think the TG Carver commentary
surely he's on track for Club Hurler of the Year, just while we're on him.
He is, absolutely.
Yeah, like, he's fairly nailed on. I would argue, even if Ballygunner don't win the final.
Yeah, he's absolutely sensational. And I think the TG Carver commentary mentioned he scored 3 points in the first half. The TG Carver commentary were mentioning Ballygunner scored 4 points in the first half. He scored 75% of Ballygunner's scores. Obviously 4 points in the second half was sensational as well. 3 points from play in both halves across the board. Like, it was just a really good performance from Desi Hutchinson. Obviously with the helping cast of Peter Hogan and Patrick Fitzgerald and all them. But this guy really makes Ballygunner tick. He's an outstanding hurler. We mentioned he was actually kind of on the decline. Some people were saying with Waterford in Intercounty, he was dropped by Peter Cúilín at the end of the Munster Championship, let's remember, against Cork. And a lot of people were questioning Desi back then. I think he shut up the doubters in this club championship this year now. He's been absolutely sensational, and he has shown the qualities that he does possess, and he has shown everybody that he's not gone by a long shot in terms of a hurler. And if he can replicate this form for Waterford next year in the Munster Championship, he'll be a hard man to mark.
It'd be impossible to mark. But, like, the other thing is as well is, how do Ballygunner keep doing it? Because every time, the amount of times they're in games where they seem to run through a routine of smashing teams early in the first 15 minutes, getting up a bit of a momentum. Then whoever they're playing against seems to have a decent second quarter where they make it a little bit interesting at halftime, like maybe the game's not done yet. But then always in that third quarter, Ballygunner always seem to take over, take control. What are the things that they do really well to achieve this?
I think it's maybe a calmness on the pitch because they're so experienced at this level. Like, I think Jason Ryan said in one of his interviews recently that just when there's a sucker punch, they don't panic at all. Like, they were 2 points down today. They could have easily been 4 or 5 points down, but I think Jason did mention to me all O'Donnell after the game that these players are experienced enough, they're successful enough. He just lets them at it, to be honest with you. Like, I noticed it firsthand, obviously, with Daniel Hogan's second goal for Sars, and that brought Sars within, I think it was 3-4 points, and it was close enough then, and you think, okay, Sars are getting back into the game here, and then Ballygunner just calmed the thing down again, and they strike 2 goals in a matter of minutes. Like, they're just that sort of a team that don't, I think they don't recognise what pressure is in a way, because, like, when a team puts them under pressure, they just seem to find the answers each and every time. They're an absolutely brilliant side, and yeah, it's very hard to stop when you're experienced enough, when you're smart enough as well in these sorts of situations. I think there was a moment in the game where Martins were running through a goal. I think it was Rory O'Connor running through a goal, and there is a rule in her. I don't like this rule. I'll put it this way. But there is a rule that in intercounty hurling, if you fall outside the box, but it is a clear goal scoring opportunity, it's a penalty. But in club, if you do it outside the box, it's just a free in. Ballygunner did this against Martins today. I think it was Ian Kenny. It might have been the cornerback, one of the defenders for Ballygunner anyway, dragged Rory O'Connor down outside the box. And most people think, oh, that's dirty play. We don't want to see them succeed. But from their point of view, it's incredibly smart. It's smart play. And like Martins, instead of getting a goal, they get a tap over point instead. And the momentum has gone out of their sails then. And they know when to kill the game as well. They are just so smart in everything that they do. Everything is down to a T. They're a sensational side. I can't have any more praise for this Ballygunner team. They're an absolutely sensational squad as well. And even the players that they can bring off the bench, the likes of the Cormac Powers, the likes of the Conor Tobins, like those lads can offer so much off the bench as well. They're such a brilliant squad. And you even see with their B team win the Waterford Intermediate Championship this year, they are just a well-run club and they're so experienced in these situations. Like, I think, honestly, they just do it because they're just used to it, Seamus. They're used to it each and every season and they know what to do in these sorts of situations. So I think it's just as simple as that. And they're so calm as well when other teams might panic.
Yeah. And I mean, you put it really, really well there, but Ryan has come in with a really, really valuable point here. He said, as good as Ballygunner were in the second half, the goal not counting was a turning point. Would have been a 5-point lead instead of 2. Never know what could have happened from there. Matthew, it is a really, really good point. Like momentum, the thing is that given how good Ballygunner were and given how much they pulled away in the second half, I think you can't say if that goal goes in, then St. Martin's are through to the final. I think that would be a bit ridiculous to say. But it definitely would have given St. Martin's a turbo boost that they would have needed in order to beat Ballygunner. And the reality is what we were talking about with Ballygunner, how good they are, is on the days where they have been taken out, things have fallen for the teams that have taken them out. Like when St. Thomas's beat them, they beat them on penalties and things did go right for them in the game and went wrong for Ballygunner in that game. Because Ballygunner are so good, everything needs to go right for you. And that was one thing that Martins didn't have the rub of the green with at all. What was your take on this instant?
Initially, when I saw it, Seamus, and I'm a neutral in this, I thought it was a throw into the back of the net. And I thought, okay, Sean Stack made the right decision there. Replays are so beneficial to analysts, but they aren't to referees. And that's why hindsight's such a beautiful thing. Because when I look back at the replay, I was saying, oh, okay, that touched Ian Kenny's leg. It should have stood. But can you see where I'm coming from, Seamus?
Yeah.
When it's so fast-paced, you think initially it's thrown into the back of the net because it did look that way. I thought it was thrown into the back of the net myself. I thought it was the right decision. But you look back at the replays and everything slowed. And then you see, oh, okay, it was a goal because it was an own goal by Ian Kenny. But look, I think you have, in that sort of incident, and we'll get on to other refereeing decisions later on, the other game, but in that sort of incident, I'd have sympathy for the referee there because I initially thought, I don't know what anybody else thought, and you can't lie about this. I thought it was thrown into the back of the net. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I thought it was thrown into the back of the net. I didn't think it touched Ian Kenny's leg at all. But then when I look back at the replay, the goal should have stood. So it's one of them. It's unlucky. It's unlucky from a Martin's point of view. But again, replays are so beneficial to analysts. Unfortunately, they're not for referees.
Yeah, no, it was interesting with me because, as I said, I was driving back from Galway, so I was listening to it on the radio. So I heard that there'd been a goal, but everything like that, and then it wasn't given and everything like that, and then it kind of just moved on the radio commentary. So when I was going to watch it for the first time, I didn't get that instant reaction where I thought that the ref made the right decision. I knew that there was controversy about this decision the first time that I watched it. But I do agree with you in that I can understand that when it happens so fast, that it's very, very easy for a referee to make a mistake like that. And the reality is I think Sean Stack is a world-class referee. I think he's one of the best referees in the game that we have right now. And I keep going back to that job that he did in the Cork Limerick game in the Munster Championship, one of the most high-paced games of hurling I've seen for a long, long time. The 2024 clash, the one down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. I keep going back to that one and going, that one was one of the hardest games to referee that I've seen. And he absolutely smashed it. So he is a fantastic referee. And just when you're in the heat of the moment like that and it happens so fast, I think sometimes it is very, very easy to miss. And the reality is a lot of people then always jump on situations like this. A lot of people jump on a situation like this ghost goal for St. Martin's and say, this is why we need VAR and GAA. Trust me, VAR and GAA would be the worst thing that could possibly happen to the game, because how many goals do we have in the game? How many points do we have in the game where every player takes 5 steps, 6 steps? And if VAR was able to go back and analyze all of them key scores, I guarantee half of the most crucial scores that we've had in Gaelic games ever would be chalked off. I'll give you one example, and Kerry fans might like this. Kevin McManaman's goal in the 2011 final, he took more than 4 steps going around Declan O'Sullivan for kicking it into the back of the net. There's plenty of examples of key decisions where someone did take technically more than 4 steps, but it wasn't a case of blatantly overcarrying. And we've seen plenty of examples of huge goals, huge scores that mightn't be turned. And yeah, Peter says 2010 is always the shelf staple reference point. And yeah, because 2010, a lot of people forget. And Peter, I know you'll appreciate me bringing this up as a Kildare man yourself. A lot of people forget about Benny Coulter's blatant square ball in that semi-final for Down against Kildare in 2010. A crucial goal for Down that was vital in them getting to that year's All-Ireland final. So just to debunk that, VAR would be the worst thing to happen in Gaelic games. You've seen with football, with soccer, how it's managed to really annoy the fans there, and they don't have a rule like overcarrying that everyone breaks all the time, if we're being honest. It would be a nightmare in GAA. And unfortunately, when you then can't use that, this is the lesser of two evils as far as I'm concerned, that you will have mistakes like this. And that's what I'm saying, is that it's really unfortunate. And for Martins, they needed the rub of the green in these instances. And unfortunately today, they just didn't get it. But yeah, they can feel aggrieved at that decision. But I think their performance in the second half would make it so that they kind of can't feel as aggrieved. If they'd lost by a point, 2 points, then they can go back to that goal and be like, that goal should have stood. But the reality is, in the second half, Ballygunner proved that they were the better team and they won the game hands down. Now, a key part in how they won that game, because we talked a lot about their forward line. It's not just Desi Hutchinson. It's also Pádraig Mahoney, Patrick Fitzgerald, Mikey Mahoney, and the list goes on. But also their defence. Coming into the game, Rory O'Connor was on fire. Jack O'Connor was on fire. Between the two of them, they got 1 point from play. Ballygunner's defence was immense.
Yeah, it was absolutely sensational. And we mentioned in the previous show during the week the amount of goals Ballygunner conceded on their run up to the final. I think they conceded none today. They conceded one against Aero Guinness, and that was a penalty. Let's be honest, I think they kind of switched off at that point. They conceded 2 against SARS, and to be honest, one of them was a worldly by Daniel Hogan. They conceded 1 against Mount Simon, the game was over, 1 against Dead Assad. But other than that, they haven't conceded many goals. Even against the Piercek, didn't concede a goal. They didn't concede a sniff of a goal chance. Again, they're just so experienced in everything that they do. The defence was so good. Ian Kenny, like the experience that he has, like even Aaron O'Neill, lads like that, really stepping up in the defence. Harry Ruddle has proven himself a hero in terms of the scoring stakes, obviously scoring that brilliant memorable goal against Ballyhead Shamrocks. But as a half back this year, he's been absolutely brilliant. I think Philip Manny at centre back has equally been absolutely sensational as well. And that is without Barry Coughlin, who actually is not playing with Ballygunner this year in the first team. He's retired from club hurling. You have these players that are stepping up in these occasions. Stephen O'Keefe as well. When you have such a calm and a sure goalkeeper behind you, that has to help you as well. So I think all facets of Ballygunner's defence is so good as well. They are a sensational kind of bunch, and they're so used to each other in so many ways as well. I think the big credit has to go to the guys actually coming in as starters this year. The likes of the Ruddles, the likes of the O'Neills, the likes of those that have really come in and stamped their authority on the team. Tyke Foley, he didn't start last season, but he's only come in for 2 or 3 campaigns. He deserves a lot of credit as well, a cornerback. So, like, the guys coming in for the Barry Coughlins and the Shane O'Sullivans, I think they deserve a lot of credit in fairness. And yeah, it's just kind of a ticking bomb. They do well. Whenever someone retires, then someone else steps in. Like, it's just so good. It's great rotation as well. And it's great from Jason Ryan's point of view as well, because he has kind of less work to do on the training field when the defenders perform as well as they do. So yeah, they deserve a lot of credit.
Yeah, no, the reality is it was a smooth Ballygunner performance, and they are through to the All-Ireland Senior Club Hurling Final, which will take place on the 18th of January 2026, and their opponents will be Galway champions Loughrea, who defeated Slaughtneil 222 to 15 points at Parnell Park. Loughrea beating Slaughtneil by 222 to 15 points at Parnell Park. However, Matthew, the headline, unfortunately, at the end of the game, given the fact that it was a bit of a one-sided contest, TG Carr's man of the match, Cúilín, received a red card with less than 60 seconds left, and it has immediately caused controversy because the fact is now, if that red card stands, he will be suspended for the All-Ireland final, and it did seem a very harsh decision.
Like, I sigh, Seamus, because it's like a movie and you're in the credits and the most exciting part happens within the credits. I mean, why Johnny Murphy decides to send off Cúilín. Look, it would have to be a serious challenge for Cúilín to get sent off then. Context is everything. The game is over. It's 222 to 14 points. The game is wrapped up. Loughrea are going to Grove Park, All-Ireland final. It should be easy as that. But no, red card out of the pocket. And I'm like, look, okay, you need to stamp the authority. I get that from a referee's point of view. But the game is over, Seamus. The game is over. Why are you bringing out a red card at that point in the game? And even worse now, pending an appeal and things like that, hopefully the appeal does go through. But if the appeal is unsuccessful, Cúilín will miss the All-Ireland final in Grove Park because of a moment where it was unexpected in many ways that this happened. Look, it should have been an easy way to end the game, but like, you could see the Loughrea manager's reaction at the end of the game. He was absolutely annoyed, and I probably would have been annoyed as well. Look at that incident. Look, I think if you have to bring out a red card at that stage in the game, in the context of the game that is, you have to be absolutely, I think David Connor mentioned this on X, you have to be absolutely sure it's a red card. Simple as that. You have to be 100% sure it's a red card. Yeah. If you're not 100% sure, do not send them off. The simple as, and look, a lot of people are aggravated by Johnny Murphy and his kind of tendency to do this. Like, I mean, look, I think Johnny, look, there is a reason why he's one of the referees that gets these sort of games and things like that. He must have done something to honour that privilege in many ways. But it's too many times at this stage, Seamus, where he wants, I hate this kind of phrase, but it's too many times he wants to be the centre of attention. And I think Gareth Crooks mentioned this on Final Score about Mike Dean. It's really getting on my nerves now. Because you can't bring out a red card with that time left in the game when the game is done. You can't do it. It's as simple as that. And especially for a straight red card, James. A second yellow would have been fine enough because obviously suspensions don't carry to the final for a second yellow in Gaelic games. But a straight red? Seriously? Mm-hmm. I'd cross the floor to you, James, because I don't know, have you noticed this already? I'm angry about it.
I certainly have, and I don't see it angry often, so it does strike with me where I'm like, oh, okay, this one struck a chord with Matthew, but there's no question about it. I thought it was unbelievably harsh. Like, it was just, and it did put a bit of a dampener on the celebrations at the end of the game, particularly for Cullen himself, because obviously you put 2 and 2 together very quickly and realise if this stands, you're going to miss the All-Ireland final for a challenge that I don't even think, brutally honest, I don't even think that the Slaughtneil players would have wanted him sent off. I think they knew that the game was done, and Slaughtneil is a proud GA club, and I think the way that they handled it at the end, shaking hands, wishing them the best of luck in the final, I don't think they would have wanted a young lad like Cúilín, who's just had the game of his life, or one of the games of his life, awarded with the man of the match in the semi-final. He's turned up big time for his club, and then for it to have just a dampener put on it right at the end, a red card that I think if he hadn't have awarded it on him, nobody would have batted an eyelid. There was nobody really calling for a red card at that stage. Hopefully it gets overturned, and hopefully he's cleared to play the final, as far as I'm concerned. Because the reality is we have seen crazy moments from referees in the last couple of years. And you know me, man. You know me that I'm always backing referees whenever people step out of line in terms of their conduct towards the referees. But we've seen a couple of instances in the past few years where referees have made really weird decisions and no consequences for it. And the main one I can think of is actually James Owens. Do you remember James Owens ran directly in front of the Tipperary goal when Stephen Bennett was taking a penalty, and he ran across Rhys Shelley's eye line? But there was no question for James Owens of like, why did you run across the penalty box as the penalty was being taken? We've seen it, and I'm just like a little bit more questions of like, okay, justify why you gave the red card there. And like, if you think that red card should honestly stand, because, well, again, it's kind of similar in terms of like, yeah, there might be some merit to the red card, but like, my God, that's harsh. And it's just like, did he do something to you to make you just want to send him off in the last minute and ruin his All-Ireland final? We have Peter has a strong opinion on this as well. Galway County Chairman is on the case too. Pure bullshit. Johnny needs to cop himself on. The young fella couldn't collect his Man of the Match award. Poor lad was crestfallen. And that's kind of it, is that it did put a damper on the celebrations at the end of the game for Loughrea. And yeah, personally, I think it was the wrong decision. And I think it should be overturned. And I think he should play in the final.
Yeah, absolutely. And I echo that absolutely, in fairness. And yeah, and I think on the fact of referees explain their decisions, I think it gets to a J plus are probably forced to this, in fairness. They interview referees before the game. I'd ask, if you interview managers and you interview players, you have to interview referees as well to kind of just explain decisions at the end of the game.
Sometimes you need to get the ref out of there. I will say, like, sometimes there's games where that won't be possible. Like, Loudmead 2010, I don't think Martin Sludden would have been given an interview after the game. But actually, he has disappeared. He is completely... I've never seen a man be so spoken about and then just disappear off the face of the earth. But I do think it's an interesting one. Or maybe, in a way, the fact that the Premier League, to some degree, has introduced, you know, a referee explaining the rules and everything like that. And David Coldrick dabbled in a bit of that for GA Plus and everything like that, explaining why certain decisions were given. That would really help. That would really help. Because there are some decisions, I think, especially with the new rules, that fans, like from a Gaelic football perspective, there are new rules that the fans would be looking at going, what's that for again? And if you have a referee that pops up and explains it very officially, I think it might help fans. And it might stop people speculating on what frees were for, etc. But I think with this one, it's fairly cut and dry. I don't think he should have been given a red card. And I think that's kind of case closed. And hopefully, for myself and Matthew, hopefully Cúilín will line out in the All-Ireland final for Loughrea. But we are going to jump into the game itself. Because coming into the contest, they're going up against the Slaughtneil side that, I mean, you can attest to this, Matthew. I'd say your heart was in your mouth being involved with the SARS team when Slaughtneil had that goal chance right at the death last year in the All-Ireland semi-final. They've been banging on the door for years in terms of getting to the All-Ireland final. Their dominance in Ulster has been unparalleled. But yet, once again, the semi-final proves a step too far. And the thing that would worry me from a Slaughtneil perspective is they were miles off it this year compared to previous years.
And I think you hit the nail on the head there, Seamus. They were absolutely well off today. I think their intensity just wasn't at us, especially in the second half. Like, it wasn't just the SARS game last year. They were up for it against Ballygunner. They were up for it against Ballyhead Shamrocks in previous seasons. And realistically, looking at those 4 games, and Cúilín as well, which was another game back in 2017, and there was another game in between that, which would you have said would have been the most realistic to win, given the history and given recent achievements and things like that? It probably would have been today against Loughrea. Loughrea, brilliant performance. I'm not degrading them at all, but like, Slaughtneil were just sloppy, I thought. They were just I thought the intensity wasn't there. They only scored 8 points from play as well, which was very, very concerning. Initially, it was Loughrea getting bookings and conceding frees in the first half that was actually keeping them in the game. It was just very, very lax, I would say, from a Slaughtneil point of view. And you just had the feeling, once Anthony Burns hit the back of the net in the first half, the game was going one way. Loughrea were going to go on ahead and win that game. And the start of the second half that Loughrea made, you have to give a lot of credit to them. It was a good start, and then Vince Morgan scores that brilliant goal, which probably will be up there for goal of the year in terms of end of the year awards. Definitely, it was a sensational finish, and Loughrea stamped their authority on the game. But when you look at it overall, like I know Slaughtneil had a better shot accuracy with 65% compared to 60%. Loughrea had 14 wides, but Loughrea had 40 shots inside 60 minutes of hurling. Slaughtneil had 23. That tells you all you need to know, that Loughrea were well above Slaughtneil in so many facets of the game. And even look at the two halves there in terms of in terms of half time and stuff like that. Loughrea had 23 shots in the second half. Slaughtneil had 23 shots in the whole game. That just tells you all you need to know as well, that it just wasn't going Slaughtneil's way today at all. And they were outplayed in so many facets of it. Yes, Loughrea had a few wides. I think they have to improve on that in the final to go ahead and beat Ballygunner. And again, I think they need to improve on maybe their discipline for the first half, conceding a lot of frees, because Pádraig Mahony will put them over in his sleep in Croke Park, no doubt about it. But other than that, I think Loughrea performed very well, I think, in this game. Like, Vincey Morgan looked very good in the full forward line. Anthony Burns, Kieran Cúilín at points at centre forward was absolutely brilliant from a Loughrea point of view. But it was just very flat from Slaughtneil and very disappointing from them. And yes, they probably will be back here again, because I think they have a stranglehold overall. As shown this year, they beat St. John's by 13 points in the final. So they more than likely will be back here again next year. But they need to put in a much better performance next year if they have any chance of getting to the final. They face the Leinster champions next year, and who knows that could be? It could be St. Martin's, could be Ballyhale, could be Navina, could be anybody. Kilcormac Calahi, hello Liam White. It could be anybody in the semi-final next season. So I think Slaughtneil need to regroup, go back to the drawing board, and just emphasize what went wrong in this game. And I think genuinely it's something as simple as this. I just think with intensity and even the smartness maybe in the second half. Loughrea had 4 or 5 yellow cards in the first half. Surely Slaughtneil, their point of call was, annoy these lads, go at them, keep running at them. They just didn't do it in the second half, which was very, very concerning. So yeah, a lot to be concerned from Slaughtneil point of view. A very flat display, but that's not taking away from the brilliance from Loughrea today. But then again, Loughrea need to improve on some facets moving into the All-Ireland final.
Yeah, no, I do agree. Emer saying here, sure lads, I was watching the match and there was no contact at all. I'm not from either club. I'm from Dublin, and that was never a straight red card. And the fact that they were up in the last minute, just terrible. The fact he'll be missing his All-Ireland now as well. Well, fingers crossed he won't be. Peter as well says Burns, Cúilín, Ryan, Morgan, big pluses for Micheál Donoghue next season in the Galway managerial position. There's no question about it. Loughrea are pushing forward a lot of talent to be in that starting side for Galway next season. Is there any in particular that stand out to you that have to be nailed on in the starting lineup?
Kieran Cúilín's absolutely there. I know he's winning the squad, but I think he needs to start more minutes for Galway next year. Anthony Burns is one player that I think Galway honestly were crying out for the Leinster final this year. A guy with a bit of pace, a bit of skill just to get around the Kilkenny defence. Like, clearly the tactic of bombarding the long balls on top of Hugh Lawler was not working in the Leinster final, and Galway did that for 50, 60 minutes.
You seen the size of Hugh Lawler?
Understatement.
A high ball on top of him, it's like
understatement of the century.
People need to a tiger, like literally, like that's Hugh Lawler's ball every day.
But there was a point in the game, obviously, when Brian Kilcannon scored that goal. Remember this, Seamus, where Galway actually ran at Kilkenny. And you were thinking, why didn't you do this for the previous 50 minutes, 50 odd minutes? Like, you could have had Kilkenny at strings then, but it was just puzzling from a Galway point of view. But I think if Anthony Burns does come into that team, he'll be able to stretch defences, he'll be able to add pace, and I think he'll be add a bit of panache as well. I think he's a very, very good player. Like there are some very good players in this Loughrea team. Like obviously Shane Morgan from centre back is a very good holding kind of a player. Vincey Morgan as well. Darren Shaughnessy, who missed today's game, is a very good full forward, and he scored 3 goals and 9 points up until the semi-final today. Hopefully he's fit for the Ballygunner game, but I think he's a definitely one for me, O'Donoghue, to look at. I think Jamie Ryan at wing forward is very, very good as well. So yeah, there's a lot of options in that team. Of course, Colin Cúilín as well. Okay, he got the red card, which was harshly done, obviously. But other than that, he was absolutely sensational around the middle of the park. He's still a young player as well. I'm not sure the age of him, but he's a very, very consistent player as well. So he could be definitely in among the Galway panel next year, or maybe underage if he is that young. So there is a lot of options for me, O'Donoghue. I think he needs to use his tactics correctly as well next season for Galway to have a better campaign.
Yeah, no, well said. I think as well there, Peter bringing up as well, Johnny Cowan, just aging like a fine wine. He's absolutely superb. Again, strutting his stuff. He mentioned it as well, like in the post-match interview, I think it was with RT Radio 1 or it was with Galway Bay FM. I can't remember which one. I was flicking between the stations. But Johnny Cowan was talking about playing the Parnell Park pitch and everything like that and saying that it was tight and everything. To put up 222 was an impressive score inside 60 minutes. There's no question about it. Loughrea played that pitch like they knew it like the back of their hand. They were really, really solid. It was an interesting ground selection, to be fair, really, really far away from both clubs. Like really far away from both clubs. But either way, Loughrea came ready with a game plan and everything like that, and they just turned Slaughtneil over. And I was surprised at how off the ball Slaughtneil were. They really, really weren't on it. Going into that final, I'll ask you this one first. When we were coming into the contest, I asked you, which one would you rather be coming in with? Would you rather be coming in with Slaughtneil's build-up of having won the Derry Championship and then won the Ulster Championship and not really had a glove laid on you since winning the Derry Championship? Or would you rather have Loughrea's run in where they've won the Galway Championship, they've beaten teams of the calibre of St. Thomas's and everything like that, but now they're in a position where they don't have any contest and they are just going to be playing challenge games and everything like that? A lot of people were talking about, how Loughrea had managed that period off. They looked on it from the word go. So is it a case that in hindsight, Loughrea's run-in was actually more beneficial than Slaughtneil's? Or is that just hindsight talking?
I think it was beneficial because Loughrea had more competitive games. When you look at the games that they did have, they had sides like Crockwell, who they lost in the group stages in the Galway Championship. They had St. Thomas, who they only beat by a point in the final. Turlough only beat them by 5 points in the semi-final. I think it was a 1 point margin in the quarterfinal as well. I think it was against Clonbridge that time. So Loughrea had more competitive games, whereas Slaughtneil realistically had one competitive game, and that was against St. Pat's Portavery in the Ulster semi-final. Every other opposition, they blitzed through them. And I think in hindsight, that was probably a better way in getting through the championship, Loughrea's route, in fairness. But I do think it's not a good thing for Galway hurling to have the champions go through to the All-Ireland final or All-Ireland semi-final when there's a month between the games or more, especially when they're facing the Leinster or the Munster teams. That they'll face the Munster champions next season. Could be Ballygunner and Pearshig, SARS, it could be anyone. I don't think that will help Loughrea, honestly, in terms of their build-up. And I do think we'll talk about the intermediate in just a tick, but I think if Turin go up to the senior championship, that could be another game for Loughrea. It might not be the most competitive game, but I think it will be a game. It will benefit Mayo Hurling in particular in terms of Turin trying to reach even higher than intermediate, and it will benefit the Galway champions as well because they'll have a game. Yes, it's only one, but they'll have it in terms of their preparation for the All-Ireland semi-final. It's better than nothing in fairness, and they'll get a bit of match sharpness going towards the All-Ireland semi-final after that. So I think it worked nicely for them this year that they had to face the Ulster champions. If they faced the Leinster or the Munster champions, they could have fallen short. But yeah, I think, honestly, Turin probably need to enter the senior championship next year. Because considering if they do win the All-Ireland intermediate in January, they're playing Upper Church Drumban and that, I think there's a serious argument to be made for Turin to go up to the senior grade in Connacht Hurling.
Yeah, and wouldn't that add a different dimension to the championship as well, especially if they can be competitive, with the Galway champions should they win their respective county? So yeah, Loughrea are into the All-Ireland final where they will come up against Ballygunner. It's going to be a novel All-Ireland final pairing. Best of luck to both teams. We will have a full preview of that game, full breakdown, everything like that. But that will be closer to the 18th. It will be on the Thursday before the All-Ireland final dates. Don't ask me to pick the dates. I'm just back from Galway. So either way, we are going to move on now. A match who you touched on as well. You touched on Turin. They, of course, played their All-Ireland Intermediate Hurling Championship semi-final today. They beat Ayr Old Carrickmore by 128 to 117. And in the other semi-final, their opponents, Upper Church John Bain, beat Danesford 113 to 14 points. Just your thoughts on these two ties and how the potential final matchup will go.
We were talking about the games during the week with Liam and Aaron and myself in the pod during the week. We were saying that Danesford are definitely a team to watch with the likes of Richie Hogan, with the likes of Paul Murphy at centre back as well. Like, they have experienced players and they were beating teams at a canter as well. But I think this Upper Church Drumban team, they may not have Tipperary seniors in the team, but they are a very good oiled machine in many ways. They beat O'Callaghan Mills in the Munster final very, very comprehensively, and that's the Clare champions. That's a very tough game to have. They beat Ballinhassig as well, the Cork champions, which is a very hard thing to do. The Cork champions usually do well in the intermediate and junior grades as well, so that was a fantastic achievement. And today they showed brilliant grit and determination to go and win this game in Portlaoise. Luke Shanahan got 7 points from frees. Gavin Ryan got 2 points from frees. Paddy Green got 2 points as well. But the main kind of scorer was Pat Ryan, who got a goal and a point from play for Upper Church. It was a brilliant display from them, and they'll be going to Crow Park with confidence under their beds, no doubt about it. To be honest, Danesford had some decent players as well, the likes of Fionn Manny with 3 points for play, and Anthony Ireland Wall with 7 points. Love that name, by the way. Brilliant display from them. But yeah, look, it was a brilliant win for Upper Church, and they will progress to the final. Probably as favourites over Turin, who were in their second final in 4 seasons. Their last final, obviously, they lost to Monaghan, the Munster champions from Limerick. So they'll be hoping to get revenge on the Munster champions this time in this event in the intermediate grade. Like, they were comfortable winners today, 128 to 117 over Carrickmore. Mayo seniors Shane Boland, Liam Lavin, Sean Kenny, and man of the match Owen Delaney really excelled for this Turin team. They also had the likes of Fergal Boland in the team, so they have the bulk of the Mayo senior team who won Division 3 in the National League in the past season, and also got to the Nicky Rackard Cup final. So they have a bulk of the Mayo team. To be honest, I think, hazarding a guess, I think the Turin team have about 10, 11, 12 of the Mayo starting 15, which is very, very impressive. They are a very good run hurling club in fairness, and they will be serious in the All-Ireland final. Like, Monaghan got tested all the way by them in the 2023 January final. So I think Upper Church will definitely have their work cut out in the final. So it should be a very entertaining game, no doubt about that. Word for A.D. Kelly for Carrickmore. He's Tyrone's main scorer in the hurling, and he was Carrickmore's main scorer today. But it should be an interesting game, Turin against Upper Church. And I did mention about Turin with the Connacht Championship. If Turin managed to win this game in the All-Ireland final, there is a serious argument to be made for them to go up to the senior ranks in the Connacht Championship. But like, Upper Church will be a hard team to beat in the final, especially all Munster champions are. So it should be an interesting game in a month's time.
Absolutely, well said. Yeah, and on top of that, we will be doing a full preview for that intermediate final when we are approaching the weekend in which it is taking place, obviously in the new year. But now we're going to move on to the junior grade. We also had the All-Ireland Junior Hurling Championship semi-finals, which took place yesterday on the Saturday this weekend. And it saw Eastkey beat Burt by 423 to 121 in their respective semi-final, while on the other side of the draw, it is Kilbrittain who will meet them in the final, who beat Davidstown by 215 to a goal and 16. So it's going to be Kilbrittain against Eastkey in the All-Ireland Junior Hurling Club Championship final of 2025-26. How do you see this one going, and what did you make of the respective semi-final wins?
It's remarkable to say on this podcast, Cúilín Media, which is kind of a national kind of podcast, that a West Cork team have reached an All-Ireland hurling final, which is sensational. Like, just context for our listeners, West Cork is not really a hurling stronghold, let's be honest. There is 2 teams above Kilbrittain in the Carbery division in the Cork grades, and that's Bandon and Lucistown. for Kilbrittain to reach an All-Ireland final, to win the Munster Championship, to win the Cork Championship, to perform the way they did, to win 8 games on the trot in Championship, it's absolutely brilliant. And fair play to everybody involved in Kilbrittain. Joe Ryan, the manager, absolutely brilliant motivator, and I can say that as well. Obviously, I know Joe quite well. He's a very, very good operator, very good manager, and wishing him all the best in the final. Interviewed 2 Kilbrittain players in the past few weeks in the Star Sport podcast. First, their captain, Philip Wall, and then one of their main scorers, Bertie Butler. And they're just enjoying this run every way. Like, it's just a brilliant run for Kilbrittain in this run. And Davidstown really test them all the way in this game in Clonmel. Goals from Conor Hogan and Luke Griffin were really the difference for Kilbrittain in this game. Mark Hickey scored 12 points, 10 from frees. He's been really good in this campaign. He scored 1 goal and 68 points in the championship this season. So very good display from him in particular, from Mr. Mark Hickey there. Thomas Sheehan, Ronan Crowley and Bertie Butler also scored in this game for Kilbrittain. It's just an absolutely brilliant achievement for everybody involved. And Kilbrittain would be a club that would be around my neck of the woods, I would say. I'm not from Kilbrittain personally. I'm from another club in West Cork, but it will be from in and around my area. So I'd be absolutely delighted for these lads of Kilbrittain, and hopefully they can bring home the All-Irelands in the next month or so. It's just brilliant for everybody involved in the community. And yeah, best of luck to Kilbrittain. Best of luck to Kilbrittain in the junior final. It's a brilliant achievement to get there, and what a sensational achievement for anybody in the Carbery division. As for the other semi-final, Eastleigh against Burt, this game went to extra time. It was a very competitive game, but a word for a performance of the weekend, I have to say. Andy Kilcullen, word probably known to many as a Sligo Winter County hurler, one of the main Sligo Winter County hurlers. He scored 4 goals and 10 points in this game. 4 goals and 3 points from play. Pretty good display from him. He scored 7 goals and 81 points for Sligo in the inter-county season as well. He is, and I said this in the previous show during the week to the lads, if he was from any other county but Sligo, he'd be talked about a lot more. He's a very, very good hurler. And obviously you had Fillion Cawley, who had a very good display as well, with 6 points from play. Tommy Cawley got 3 points from play. Fionn Connolly got 2 points. Fionn Moylan and Patrick Walsh also got in the score sheet for Eastleigh. And coincidentally, Dave played in the All-Ireland final in the 22-23 season, and they lost by 8 points to a Cork club, Ballygunner. So they'll be hoping to gain revenge on the County of Cork in this game against Kilbrittain in the All-Ireland final, but we'll have to see what happens. Should be an interesting game, but without sounding a bit boyish, Seamus, I hope Kilbrittain go and win this All-Ireland. It's going to be a fantastic achievement if they do. But then again, if Eastleigh do it, it's brilliant for Sligo hurling. So it's kind of the best of both worlds in many ways for kind of the little underdog in many ways.
Absolutely. And then that's what the club championship stories are made up of. And for Eastleigh as well, there has that kind of added element to it that if they keep rising up the ranks as well as Turin, like hopefully in 10 years' time, you have a situation where you could have a Sligo champions going into the Connacht Championship, Mayo champions going into the Connacht Championship, and just the standard of hurling continuing to rise around the country and bring a new element to the club championship as well. That the Galway champions don't just go through to the senior semi-finals, that they'd have to battle their way through the province in a similar way. I think that would be a benefit to everybody around the country. So absolutely massive congratulations to all clubs involved who won their respective semi-finals across the weekend and will now play in the showpiece events in January of 2026. That is all from myself and Matthew. Peter here saying, lads, wishing you both a very happy Christmas. Have a good one, and thank you for fantastic shows this year. See you in the new year. Happy Christmas to Liam and to Aaron too. Well, Peter, before you go, I do want to plug this. Stay tuned next weekend, Sunday, the 28th of December. We will be doing the Cúilín Media End of Year Awards show, end of year review, a quiz, bit of fun, bit of a laugh, and it will be hosted by Sean Carroll himself. So he'll be hosting the quiz, and it will be myself and Aaron, the 2 dubs, against Matthew and Liam, the 2 people who are not dubs. So we'll see who wins in that clash as we go head to head. But until then, I want to wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas, and from the Cúilín Media team, enjoy the festive season, and we will see you all next week. Thank you and take care. Instinct,